Okay, so again, very welcome everyone. We're recording now. We're ready for some news, ready for some non-farm payroll, for some Canadian employment numbers, a little bit of everything. Should be an exciting day. Uh, I'm looking forward to it. Here's what we're going to try to accomplish today. Excuse me. We want to make sure that we watch the news, we see where everything goes, and if there's a trading opportunity that's going to pop up from some of this, we want to know that. We are interested in knowing that. So, again, we're just about 10 minutes out from the news. You can see it's always a little interesting when we have U.S. and Canadian employment numbers on the same day because, the dollar CAD can really go crazy. And some other Canadian pairs, or excuse me, not necessarily Canadian pairs, but we get a lot of movement out of dollar pairs for NFP, and a lot of movement out of Canadian pairs for employment numbers. And so when we have them both in one day, it's like there's an overload of pairs to watch. So we'll just keep our eye on everything the best we can and kind of see how it's all playing out. We're going to be watching the scanner as well to kind of just see how some of these setups are looking. We've had a couple. We've had at least multiple 15-minute trades this week, which has been exciting. So there's been some 15-minute trades that have set up this week. We've got some 4-hour charts that are starting to look kind of interesting according to the scanner here. And I'm going to be kind of interested in some of these shorter-term charts, like 5-minute charts, to kind of see how those play out, especially as the news is approaching here. So all in all, should be a pretty exciting day. I think we've got plenty to keep us busy. So that all being the case, let's head back over here to the charts for just a moment. I would say some charts that I want to keep an eye on, and I'd love to hear what you guys are watching, what you guys are loving, what everyone's kind of into right now. We've been looking at a lot of different things this week, and just as we had in the trade group this week, there was so much news. So every day was a big news day. And so we kind of put our focus a bit more this week on just short-term trades, scalping 15-minute setups, scalping short-term breakouts, and everything went pretty well in that short-term, grab some quick pips, scalp some setups kind of move. So that was pretty exciting. But now, kind of with this news and with all of this coming up, we're going to be looking at a couple of things to kind of see if we can get some decent plays here. I'll mix and match a couple of charts, but we're going to be watching dollar yen's always kind of an interesting one to watch, so we'll keep an eye on that. And we've got let's just get a little bit of a bigger view here. I'd like to see this dollar yen make a big run down. I'm seeing kind of a big head and shoulders pattern here, so I think we could see some movement in that direction. So we'll be watching this dollar yen. We're going to be looking to see if we can get a little bit of a move and a little bit of a run lower towards that 108. So dollar yen is going to kind of be on the list. This was one of the. We actually took $2 CAD trades this week, short term, great little scalps. You can see our last one was this guy right here. And that clearly worked out pretty well. But the dollar CAD is, it's a kind of this interesting spot. We've got some great lower targets still to look for here, a couple of consecutive missed daily pivots. For those of you that were in the target trading webinar, you should definitely notice that right there. That's a great thing to watch. And so we've got some nice pivots down there. We've got some good things to be looking for. So I'll be curious to see kind of how this, again, we've got, as far as the dollar CAD goes, we've got, CAD news and dollar news, and that's going to be pretty big. So this pair will get a little bit volatile and probably a little bit crazy. So, we're just going to kind of keep our eye on it. We're going to watch this dollar index, see where this guy goes. We're kind of back at decision point once again, which it's been at many times here. So we've got some good things to watch and keep an eye on. Again, we'll just kind of see how this dollar behaves, where it goes, what it does. CAD Swiss was an interesting trade. We got into this week as well. Nice 15-minute trade, getting in against this support, against this rising trend line right here. So that turned out pretty well, and we're going to see just kind of where this thing goes. And I think this would be a good one for the list as well. There was our trade, bought that break, traded up, worked out really well. We've still got some great targets up above that are going to get our attention a bit. So probably going to watch, dollar CAD, CAD Swiss, euro dollar, or excuse me, dollar yen. Probably not going to watch euro dollar. We'll see what this thing does, but euro dollar's got a bit of a situation going on over here. I don't know what I think of euro dollar. I don't think I want to do anything with euro dollar at all. But I'm curious. What do you guys think? Do you think we're going to get some better than expected, worse than expected for U.S. and Canada? Anybody in either of those countries? I mean, you guys getting a good feel for what's going on in your country? Have you seen a lot of jobs picking up? Does it feel like the economy is cranking and booming? The U.S. definitely has some strong economic indicators right now, but doesn't always mean that that translates super well over to a complete employment picture. One thing that we always look at pretty closely is in the U.S. Average earnings, hourly earnings is a big deal, because if people are getting jobs but nobody's making any more money, that's kind of the other shoe to drop, right? And so what we want to see is we'd love to see, for positive numbers, better than expected employment numbers, as well as a rise in hourly earnings. That's a pretty big deal. And of course, any kind of reduction in the unemployment rate, which currently stands at 3.9%, which is pretty low. Canada's got a pretty decent unemployment rate as well. They're looking to see that get a little tiny bit worse. That's the forecast, and we'll see what happens there. But we're just gonna look at all of these. We're gonna see where everything goes and how it all plays out, and we'll be ready for the activity, which is about 2 minutes out. Does anybody have any questions before the news hits? Any questions before the news hits? Let's look at a setup. Well, let's do a little bit of this. Okay, so we want to look at. I'd like to watch, I think, dollar index, CAD Swiss. Oops, CAD Swiss. Move that guy down to the dollar index here. And then let's watch dollar CAD as well. So we'll get a good feel, at least in the dollar index, of which direction things are going. And get a little bit of an idea of just kind of how the movement's looking and what's happening there. Okay, let's move that down to the 1 hour. I think these are all on 4 hours. Okay, and let's just see how these guys behave. Okay, good comments. David, the scanner I use on MT4, I'll show you a little bit more about that as soon as we get past the initial news announcement. Nimmer, nice to see you. Expecting some USD weakness today. Okay, Lars, Euro CAD. We'll talk about that one as well. We'll see how the news kind of goes, and then we'll have a look at some of those things. Okay, so we're moments away. We've got the CAD Swiss on top. We've got the We've got the dollar index here in the middle and the dollar CAD on the bottom. We're seeing a little bit of movement here. A little bit of movement. You can see a little initial spike on dollar CAD. Little initial, movement on dollar index. There we go. We're getting a little life there. Getting a little life. Because I'm not trying to trade the exact initial movement, we'll look at the news here in just a moment, but we are starting to see a little bit of activity here. Okay, interesting. We're seeing some positive, looks like we're seeing a little bit of positive U.S. news here. And good numbers. Okay, so these are all the things we talked about. Now, a little bit of a mixed scenario here where we got the unemployment rate did not change. They were looking for an improvement there, and it didn't change. It stayed the same. But job numbers are good, better than expected. Not by a ton, but a little bit better than expected. Average earnings, hourly earnings are quite a bit better than expected here. So those are two pretty big deals right there. Canada, previous numbers, Canada has a really wild swing with employment numbers. So does Australia. We see, previous numbers 54,000, looking for a forecast of 5,000. We get a negative number of 51,000. So unemployment rate goes from 5.8 to 6, which is no surprise if there was such a job loss. Seems like a weird time to be losing a lot of jobs. Maybe there's a lot of seasonal stuff going on that, that's now over. I don't know. Summer's not even over yet, technically. So interesting. Big bad number for Canada there, but some pretty positive numbers for the U.S. So interesting. Let's look at this chart here. And I'm going to go, so here's our CAD Swiss, just kind of, making its move here. Let's look at, let's get a closer look at dollar CAD. So an initial spike higher, we got bad Canadian numbers, we got good US numbers. So that is no major surprise here. The trade we were looking for earlier in the week was a short-term trade down on dollar CAD, which went super well. But we've still missed this target down here. We have quite a target zone, and I love that this is running up because this is probably going to give us another opportunity to start pressing on some shorts when the time is right. Okay, so basically a pretty big positive reaction across the dollar pairs here. We're seeing, dollar index running up, euro dollar making a move lower. We're just kind of seeing more dollar strength here. Somebody, PC Win 10. It's an interesting name. I wish I had a name like that. Jared kind of seems boring now that you put it that way. So Aussie Dollar PC Win 10. You got anything short for that? Like John? Yeah, so we're seeing a little bit of a breakout on Aussie Dollar. That's not much of a trade entry for me. I'm just looking at that, and yeah, there you go. It's moving down a little bit. Okay, so any thoughts on how that will affect gold? Yeah, I mean, if we see positive dollar news, then we'll see gold continue to push lower. Are you holding some gold positions, Lars? I think you might be. But yeah, you can see gold making a little bit of a run there. Gold, I just have been very super cautious / uninterested in trading gold lately because as it's bouncing around this. Hey, Chatan, my friend, how are you? I see your video there for a moment. Nice to see you. I see gold, sitting around this $1,200 mark. This is not a good time to be trading gold for the shorter term movement. For the longer term movement, yes, but shorter term, there's going to be a lot of indecision around that $1,200 mark. So I'm just staying away from that. But yeah, if this news is is really dollar positive, then we could see this try to press back down below that $1,200 mark. So we've got a lot of movement this morning, a lot of activity kind of everywhere, as you can see. Again, the things that I'm probably interested in most, I would say, for moving forward, is going to be, I'm interested in dollar CAD and kind of the big picture here. So let's spend just a second looking at that. Dollar CAD's it was trying to create a pretty nice little channel that didn't quite want to hold, but the bigger picture, we've got some good targets and good areas below. So I'll be ready to kind of, as soon as the U.S. dollar decides to finally take a backseat and slow down the massive roll, this dollar CAD will be a great short. But for now, it's definitely, it's holding above this huge falling wedge on the weekly chart that broke out. And we still have a pretty good opportunity to trade that up into 135. And so we could definitely see that in the works here. So we're going to be pretty careful about any shorts right now on dollar CAD. And we'll see if this thing's going to make that big run up into 135. So, and from there, I would love to short it down to about 125, even 123.50, as you can see down there. So dollar CAD, we'll see. We'll see how this thing behaves. We've got some more short-term confirmation I'd like to see happen, but it's going to be interesting. It's going to be very interesting, that dollar CAD. It gave us what we needed earlier this week twice. We had two great little short-term scalps on this thing, and now it's now we're looking to see kind of where this move plays out and kind of how it goes. So dollar CAD's pretty heavy on the list. I would say that as far as other CAD pairs go, CAD Swiss is definitely on that list as well. As that CAD news again was bad, I'm going to be looking for the bigger, longer-term reaction at this low, right? So this takes us back to end of 2016. We've tested this level pretty heavily, and it's in a big channel here. Almost looks like it's trying to create a huge head and shoulders pattern. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens on this one. But the only thing we need to really know and focus on is that it's at it's right around a decision point. It's gonna have to decide where it's headed from here. Break or hold is kind of the question on that one. So CAD Swiss is good. Dollar CAD, CAD Swiss, New Zealand CAD. So these are kind of the three CAD pairs I will be watching. Because again, New Zealand CAD, we have targets galore. We already hit that target. That was a great little move and great little trade. So we've got these upper targets here, but this is a big decision point. So we want to know, where these big decision points are so that we can kind of be ready for, for that movement. Big double, triple bottom right here. So what's it going to do at 8,600? Is the news bad enough that it'll hold it off that level and help it rally, or is it going to make a little bit of a run through that? So those are probably the CAD pairs I'm going to watch: CAD Swiss, Dollar CAD, New Zealand CAD, specifically, and let's just kind of see how these guys play out. I think we've got some good CAD opportunities there. So 8,600 decision point. Look at that thing, made a spike up all the way back down. Kind of interesting. Did we get, by the way, I'd be curious to see if we had any majorly revised numbers. The U.S. revised last month's numbers just a little bit from 157 to 147. That's about it. So it looks like the numbers are pretty set in stone there. So pretty decent numbers for the U.S., pretty bad numbers for Canada, and that, should give us a little bit of an opportunity as the morning probably goes on with this dollar CAD here. So pretty pretty interesting. We'll see what kind of movement this gives us. But like I said, I feel like I would not be surprised at all with a with a couple hundred pip run up over the next little while on dollar CAD, and seeing that thing kind of make a big push higher. Dollar index trying to break above daily 20 MA, so more dollar strength. Yeah, yep, it does look like. So remember, as we talked about this dollar index chart right here, this thing has reacted fairly well to this channel. It's held pretty well in this channel. We took a little bit of a dip out of the channel, but rallied out of that once again, or back into that actually. And as it hits this channel again, it looks like it's trying to make another push. On my currency charts, on my stock charts, I watch the 20 a little bit more. On my currency charts, I only watch the 50 and the 200 moving average. But interestingly, it's holding, it's holding that 50, and the 20, would be just right above that. So, yeah, those are good little indicators right there for sure. So, yep, looks like a little bit more, a little bit more dollar strength could be coming. Those are pretty good numbers. I mean, I would say that the dollar rally is starting to fizzle a little bit, probably starting to run out of a little bit of steam. But I think I think there's a little more to go. But I do think it's kind of probably nearing its tail end. If we look at this dollar chart here, we've got this rising channel. Everything's kind of in play on this move here, but it's been quite a run that it's had lately, and these things just don't seem to go forever. And this dollar rally has gone for quite a long time. It's gone straight off this lower level here without hardly taking much of a breath. Little bit of a pullback here. So anyway, I don't know. I feel like the dollar rally's got to be starting to slow down here a little bit. But we'll watch. Everything will be pretty well indicated within this channel. We start making some significant breaks out of that channel, and I think we're headed towards some of these lower targets. We have a lot of lower targets on the dollar index, and so I think there's some good stuff there. Oh yeah, spinning top on the weekly. Yep. Yeah, so good. Okay, guys, what do you guys think? What are some questions, comments you have about the news that has just hit? And a few people had some questions I saw some questions about the scanner there. So this tool right here on my MetaTrader chart is what we use to get at least, well, 3, but really 4 successful trades this week out of this alone. This gave us $2 CAD trades, a CAD Swiss trade, and Euro Swiss trade because of the 15-minute setups that are going on here. So the scanner has been really, really excellent, and including, we're looking for some 4-hour activity here as well. So New Zealand CAD starting to get kind of interesting, along with some others. So the scanner is just, especially August is kind of a tricky month for trading. August can be good, for the scalpers. It can be bad for anybody trying to find some, some positions and directions to kind of play out. August is always a tricky month. I don't typically love this month for trading. But the scanner has really kind of saved our bacon on a lot of these trades where I've just thought to myself, boy, I don't know where I think anything's headed, and then I'll pull up the scanner and find 2 or 3 great setups and be able to kind of jump into those. So scanner is just excellent. And the strategy I use for the scanner can all be found over here. So anybody that has questions about that, look in the chat, and there's the link to the website. So the scanner is just it's a trading methodology I've used for kind of a long time now, and it's pretty great. So the software, this doesn't actually execute any trades for us. This gives us a heads up of what markets are trending, what markets are overextended. And it's probably the best indication of an overbought or oversold market that I have ever seen ever. And it's a really great indication of trending markets that are nowhere near overbought or oversold. And so it can help us with trend trades. It can absolutely help us with reversal trades. And it is kind of the best thing ever. So you'll see some examples and some details of that on that link that I sent over. So, and if you want to go to the website as well, if you didn't see the link, it's just dtfx.co/scanner. So daytradersfx.co/scanner. Have a look. Joe, yes, we do trade news on the 1 minute chart. Yeah, absolutely. One thing in particular that I'll look for, what was the biggest move we had? Probably the dollar CAD, right? Dollar CAD was maybe our biggest. Dollar Swiss, not much move on the dollar Swiss. Dollar CAD. So what I'll look for on these, on these 1 minute charts here, we'll let the news kind of hit, and oftentimes you can look at something as simple as, a little Fibonacci retracement here, and look for that 1 minute chart to give some retracement. And you can see, very oftentimes I look at the 38% to 50% retracement on these kind of news runs. And you can see that this guy right here did exactly that. Ran right down to that 38% fib, which was 131.55, and here it is at about 131.68. So, it's kind of a nice little way to say, okay, let's trade that let's trade that continuation. So, big run up, Fibonacci pullback on a 1 minute chart specifically, and this is something I'm glad you brought that up, Joe, because this is something that I do from time to time. I've become a little bit less interested in trading the actual reaction of the news, and I want to kind of look for the bigger movement that the news produces. But this is a great method to look for some short-term, news trades. So really a good thing to do there. So yeah, nice little pullback to that 38, and away it goes. It's only 10 pips, 10 pips off that level, but there can be some really good continuations there. So great little method, absolutely. Let's see here. Okay, so that is so what I would like to do is kind of continue to watch the news and see how it plays out this morning, and see what kind of opportunities it gives us for what we've been watching in the trade group. No, Joe, I pretty much don't do that anymore. Buy stop, sell stop. I did years ago, and not much anymore, because oftentimes the news gets a little bit choppy, and can try to put you into both trades and stop you out of one or the other. And so, yeah, I don't use pending orders around the news much. So, hi Craig, nice to see you. Hold on, guys, I got the worst allergies. I got a sneeze coming on. Okay, bless me. All right. So, so a couple of things to make sure and kind of watch for is, within the group, the trade group, I post video updates and charts, and we have 2 live webinars each week, Monday and Friday. And I post a lot of analysis and a lot of details, and we're kind of looking for a lot of those trades to play out. So what I want to do for the next couple of minutes here, normally the Friday session, this is a little bit of a special occasion because we had, U.S. and Canadian employment numbers today, and I thought, let's do an open session, let's see what's going on here. But I'd love to kind of just run through an overall market analysis where I think, the next 4 or 5, big trades might be happening. But before doing that, what questions do you guys have? What currency pairs are you looking at? What comments do you have? You've had some great questions and comments already, so thanks for that. But anything else, guys, let me know. Everyone clear on scanner details and some of that? Hey, Chris. Is this Chris, or is this Chris? think it's Chris. So thoughts on Chef Yen? Seems to be stuck in a channel. I'm short on that one. All right, Chris Canada. Good to see you, Chris. Nice to see you. Hey, Steve. How you doing? Nice to see you. Okay, so Chris, that's a good question. We had a trade on the Swiss yen this morning. Kevin, which Kevin is this? I know so many Kevins at this point. So at least give me an identifier here. Kevin, somebody, Kevin, anybody? Okay, so oh, hey Kevin, nice to see you. Welcome, my friend. So Chris, on this on the Swiss yen here, on the Swiss yen, yes. So this was a trade we had earlier this week, right? And we got into this breakout and started trading this thing down, and and then we locked in some profit, 5 pips, and it came back up and took us out in some profit, and then it's just been doing nothing. This little resistance area, this is about 1,500, and this is a good little spot for this, for this Swiss yen to start to pick a little bit of medium-term direction. The tricky thing is here, and the reason this has been so choppy this week, is we've had good Swiss franc strength this week, and we've had good yen strength this week. And so nobody can decide who is the stronger for a move. So it's going to be probably a little bit more waiting and watching and just kind of looking for, can this channel continue to narrow and give us, some sort of confirmation, hopefully to the downside if you're short there, Chris. We've got some great targets. The Swiss yen, remember the Swiss yen went basically vertical, like 2 weeks ago or a week ago, whenever that was. It just went straight up, right? And so what we're kind of curious and wondering about is if this is going to really give us any kind of pullback to some of these missed pivots. We have all these missed pivots in here. It's like a record amount, especially for this pair. The Swiss yen's not a big, leave a ton of pivots untouched kind of a thing. And then it just did something fierce. So weekly pivot, monthly pivot, about 5 daily pivots. So I think there's at least a decent chance that it'll make its way down and start to kind of rebalance some of those levels. So yes, I think that's very possible, but it's really going to just kind of require that next leg of confirmation here, and we're just going to have to kind of wait for that and see when that feels like working. If it does go higher, which it could go higher. Remember, in the grand scheme of things, we're kind of in this, channel here that takes us back really about, 2 years, 2.5 years, 3 years almost. So it takes us back to this area here, and we're kind of in the upper middle of that channel. And so, yeah, it could be making one more push higher. We've got, plenty of much higher levels way back here, but really for the movement of the last couple of years, we're in the upper region of that. But I'm curious to see, kind of how and where that's going to play out. Yeah, Craig, and that's a good point. I mean, typically speaking, with good old regular market analysis, when we get a strong run up and a lot of consolidation, that could be, room for another run higher. So absolutely, but I think it's worth watching specifically for a breakout down because of how many kind of unbalanced targets we have down here. So that's kind of really what's getting my attention. And to top it off, not only is the monthly pivot right there, we've got a nice little, our nice little market imbalance level that has also been unhit, a few other ones back here. So there's really a lot of lower targets. So if it doesn't hit this time, it'll probably, it could very likely make one more push higher, and then, and then make a big reversal and a big continuation down. These big targets will not go, untested forever. And so yeah, this could turn out to be a really good long-term short. maybe more on the short-term side of things. It might not be, it might not be so crazy. So yeah, good, good stuff. Kevin, sorry to skip over your question there. Just Craig was asking something related to what we were talking about. Kevin, no, I don't have any thoughts about the lira. Sorry to drag that one out. I feel like, can I thank you? Oh, there we go. Here's the dollar lira. I feel like it's, I don't know. They have a lot of stuff going on over there. I don't particularly like this pair because I think it's a little too volatile and crazy. And these are the kinds of pairs that get you into a lot of trouble more often than not. Some people make a lot of money on these because, if you have a decent sized trading account and good money management, you can make a lot of money on these really volatile South African rand, Turkish lira, those kinds of pairs. But without it, I would stay away, and I would recommend pretty wholeheartedly to everybody in this group to trade with a lot of caution and/or just stay out when it comes to, the lira. So, yeah, hopefully that helps. I just don't want to see anyone blow up their account on, something like, because look what everybody was doing. They're like, yeah, we're trading this thing up and down, and then Turkey has a massive crisis, and and their currency basically collapsed, almost collapsed, and it just went through the roof. And how much just carnage happened to currency traders, and that is probably a pretty high amount. So things like those ultra exotics, unless you have a large account and you're disciplined to death and you can control yourself from putting large trade sizes on, then stay away from things like Turkish lira and some of those. Okay, good, Chris. Okay, good. Position size small enough to stay short for now. Good. I think that Swiss yen, will probably be okay for you. Joe, do you have any favorite pairs you watch extra close? Yes, I have a lot of, well, I don't know. I wouldn't say I have favorite pairs. I have favorite pairs for the week. But, yeah, I guess I can say that I do have some favorites. I like the steady movers. So things like Aussie CAD, New Zealand CAD, Aussie Swiss, New Zealand Swiss, Aussie New Zealand. Those ones are good because they don't ever get too wild and crazy. I like the high volatility pairs for certain setups, but they get really crazy. For discretionary trading, lower volatility pairs can most of the time be better and easier to just kind of manage the movement. I love trading yen pairs when the setups are great, but yen pairs have a tendency to really run away and just go crazy. So I kind of try to stay very careful with yen pairs and some other pairs. And so things you can kind of just drag out and put some nice long-term trades are those ones. CAD Swiss, New Zealand Swiss, Aussie Swiss, New Zealand CAD, Aussie New Zealand, some of those guys. So lower volatility pairs are some of my favorites. They don't always give us setups, but when they do, I'm usually trying to get into them, and they're much easier to kind of scale into. So trading high volatility pairs oftentimes can get pretty tricky. And we had a good reminder. A couple of weeks ago we were trading the Euro CAD, and it's just a reminder that some of these high volatility pairs, when they feel like behaving themselves, they can be really great. In the trade group, I talked about Euro CAD, Euro Aussie, Pound Aussie, and we never got confirmation on Euro Aussie or Pound Aussie, and I really don't like those pairs at all. Although we had a really great 15-minute trade on the Pound Aussie, but Euro Aussie, Pound Aussie, super high volatility pairs. Things can look very clean and good, and then they just run wild. And so, I kind of don't like to do any more with those than I have to. And the only reason I was looking at them is because we had really, really great long-term setups that were completely invalidated and reversed. and you know, never gave us confirmation. The Euro CAD did give us some confirmation, and you know, and it just, you know, it ran to our stop, and it was a pain in the butt. So it's just a reminder that you know, that you got to be really, really careful with those high volatility pairs. And I watch and trade those very rarely. But yeah, low volatility pairs are some of my favorites. Frank, nice to see you, my man. Thanks for staying up nice and late for us out there in Australia. Let's see. Cover Aussie dollar and gold. Yeah, so I kind of looked at gold a little bit already. It's just, you know, again, my take on gold is stay out of it while it's deciding what it wants to do around $1,200. So we need to get a significant run below 1,200 or a significant run above 1,200, because at 1,200, it's at like this all-time, you know, this long-term trend line right here. And you know, and it's not going to be an easy decision process, right? So it's got to make a move one direction or another, and it just doesn't want to do that yet. So as this kind of sits in this zone right here, we have that is just going to be a mess. This is going to be a mess right there. So we wanted to, you know, we want to get some clear direction and get this thing going one way or another before we, you know, we really do much with it. So right now, yeah, I just I think that gold's probably a big stay out. How attentive should you be in fundamental versus letting the chart thing up? I mean, the fun, you know, we're always trying to keep an eye on both things here. Okay, so yeah, I mean, we're watching it, but for this, you know, what I want to see is just some momentum. Let's take out some highs. Let's take out some lows. Let's get out of this, you know, 1190 to 1210 area, because that $1,200 mark is such a strong level that we need to get clear of that before we can see, you know, any kind of decent direction. Rob, is my audio not coming through well, or is anyone having audio issues? I've got a pretty good microphone here. Surprised to hear it's not working so hot. Are we doing good on audio? Okay. Okay. All right. Just double checking. Good. Okay. Great. So yes. So gold, steer clear until we get clear direction out of 1,200, and then as far as the Aussie dollar goes, Frank, we talked about that a little bit as well. The levels, you know, here's the levels to watch on Aussie dollar. We had this little zone. You know, I've talked about this a bit. 71. You know, this is 71.50, which has been a fairly significant. Let's go over here. Let's go to this weekly chart. 71.50 on the Aussie dollar has been, you know, pretty significant. 7,000 will be a major level as well, which is right here at that low. And I've got that, you know, that level just a little bit below 7,000, but 7,000 will be a good round number and a good area to kind of see what the reaction is. We're at 71.30. You know, 71.50 can still hold. When we're talking larger time frames, you know, that's not a breakout by any means yet. That's a testing of the lows there. So if that does not, if that doesn't hold, then I'll be looking for 7,000 to kind of happen. If that does hold, which it very well could, then there could be a little bit of a snapback off of that. But we're seeing dollar strength right now, so you know, that's where we have to say, okay, this is probably going to be more, you know, more dollar strength, more Aussie weakness here. We've got a pretty good trend intact here, but you know, this has gone all the way back from the highs of January. I mean, this has been going down and down and down. We're probably going to see this, you know, continue down and maybe even get through that, you know, through that big level there into some of these, you know, even bigger lows at, you know, below 6,900. But yeah, I don't really have too much of a plan on. I don't have any kind of a trade, honestly, going on with the Australian dollar, U.S. dollar. Nor have I really wanted to for the last little while. It came down nicely for sure, and we grabbed a couple of, we grabbed some trades on some of that downward movement. But this last big chunk, I don't know. It's been a decent trend here, but I just haven't really gotten into anything there or wanted to get into anything there. So yeah, that's one of those deals where probably probably something we could potentially start scaling into after bigger dips. I don't think I want to trade with the trend yet, and honestly, I think it could continue down, but just isn't really doing much for me. Joe, the $1 million tip. Um, $1 million tip is be careful. That's that's the tip. Now, actually, here's one thing to keep an eye on. So I'll give you guys kind of a seasonality tip because this is very much how the market moves. You guys that have been with me for a while or been following my emails or any of that stuff, um, right? That's right. So here's the seasonality. Basically, what happens is um, the seasonality of movement is we get the pre-summer push. So I call it my pre-summer push. And that is typically, as early as April, but into May and June. That's our big pre-summer push. We saw a big one this year. It was great. So April, May, June is a big pre-summer push. Summertime can trend a little bit, but most of the time we have a lot of low volume movements in summer and things are just kind of sideways. And we just look for shorter term trades and that kind of stuff. August, very oftentimes highs and lows are set in or around August, like the end of August, even going into a little bit of September. And then going into September, we start to see some volume coming back into the market a little bit. And then trending months are typically October, November, December, and into January. So September, October are better than typical summer months, and we'll look for some shorter term trades there. But we're really looking to see if big highs or big lows have been set in, and we can start to follow that trend into the end of the year. So again, October, November, December, January are very good into the end of the year trades, and good trending trades. So we have good trend before summer. For those of you in Australia, we're talking May, June, July, or excuse me, April, May, June, big trend, sideways movement, end of June, July, August. A little bit of indecision, kind of, August, September, and then we start to see trend again, really, trend really cranks again in October, November, December. So and that may not sound like $1 million tip, but that is a pretty important thing to remember, because if you think to yourself, hey, summer markets are finally to an end, and here's a trade I could scale into in October, and you scale in the wrong direction, that thing could trend against you for 3 months or 4 months very easily. So it's something to be very aware of as far as, long-term trades and big overall direction that you might be looking to follow. Now, if you're just saying to yourself, I can't seem to pick direction to save my life, and I have no idea what direction anything's going, short-term or long-term, then you need the Forex scanner, because what that will do is just give you short and medium-term direction, all you can handle. So the scanner will be a great fix and a great help for you. The course that, the link that I posted has all the details of, how the system works and how everything works there. So the scanner is a great, if you just say, I get burned on long-term stuff, I don't know what to do with it, get with the scanner and follow the short-term trades. We had, 4 great trades from the scanner just this week that all worked out well. Because this week I said, I think direction's going to be a little bit questionable in a lot of these pairs. And I said, I'm going to go short-term. And we grabbed, 30, 40, 50 pips out of the scanner, multiple times. and it was just, you know, a real easy, good run to take there. So yeah, good stuff. Questions about that? Does that make sense? There you go. So, okay, we good on that? Everyone kind of get that seasonality deal. Pretty important. That's pretty important little tip, a little bit of information there. It comes from getting it wrong a couple of years in a row before I thought, there's something going on here. I don't know what it is. So I started really watching that seasonality, and it's really, really good stuff. Corey, how do you distinguish a pair that is testing the low or breaking out? Oh, gotcha. Okay. Testing low for breaking. Or breaking out. A couple of things. So something to remember, Corey, and everyone here, when a long-term chart, like a daily or a weekly or, you know, especially a monthly chart, is hitting support or resistance, it's hitting trend lines, it's doing any of that stuff, remember that these long-term charts don't just break out. So anything kind of 4-hour chart and below is more of a, you know, just breakout kind of a chart, right? 4-hour puts up a little bit more of a fight, but you know, doesn't usually hold as often as, say, a daily chart. But 1-hour chart is breakout chart, 15-minute chart is breakout chart, and so on. Longer term charts, you know, even a daily open above or below can really still be reversed. So just take, for example, this Aussie dollar, right? So look at the Aussie dollar. Look what it did last time. Spent a whole day messing around with this level. You know, opened up, you know, closed back up above this, opened with a couple of bullish candles for the next day, and then a few days after that, it started making a run below those levels again, and really kind of making that push. So what we look for is you know, long-term charts to kind of test these levels, and then we look for the breakout on shorter-term charts. So, for example, this Aussie dollar that tested back here, we could have run over to some shorter-term charts and looked for some short-term breakout confirmation, which, you know, we never really got. It just kind of ended up topping out again, or bottoming out, excuse me, again with that same little level right there. You know, same thing over here, and you know, as this kind of got choppy and messy over here, there were some things we could look at on shorter-term charts to kind of help get some tight entries on potential follow-throughs of this breakout, which it ultimately did do, you know, over here. So the thing to remember is when something is testing a level versus breaking out, you know, always go to the longer-term charts, the daily and weekly charts, and just see, you know, is it just barely at the level? Is it pushing through the level by a couple of pips? How well established is that level? You know, like 71.50 on Aussie dollar is pretty well established. So, you know, is this going to break out? Is this going to work right here? Well, the very first thing I'll look at is how today ends. So this little candle right here, I won't even start to think about this as a possible, you know, trade or breakout down until this daily candle ends, and I'll see how it ends. It could end as a massive reversal candle. If this ended, you know, with a little bit of negative movement for the dollar, this could have a huge long wick right there, and that would say that sellers weren't able to push this through and that there's more buying pressure. And this could actually turn into a buy trade. This could just be a test of that level. But if this ends as a huge bearish red candle, then going into the next day, we could say, okay, you know, going into Sunday, Monday, we could say, okay, there may be some follow through here. We might be taking this into that 7,000 level. So it's really just, you know, when you're looking at testing or breaking, especially on long-term charts, give it plenty of time. On short-term charts, you know, usually I want to see an hourly candle open above or below a level, right? And that kind of confirms a breakout for me. But on longer-term charts, I'm giving it a couple of days to really confirm, and I'm using short-term charts to kind of help, you know, confirm that picture and give me a pretty clear yes or no that that's actually the case. So, I don't know. Did that answer your question? That help? What do you think there? Other questions, comments, guys. What do you guys think? What's What are we missing? What feels unanswered at this point? These are all good questions you guys are bringing up. So I'm happy to answer your questions. I'm happy to kind of see what's going on in your guys' minds. So that's always good. Okay, so I'll give you guys a little bit of a heads up of kind of what I want to watch and trade for the week ahead. And I know we've talked about it a little bit, but I'm going to bring up just a few more items and details here. So, number one, CAD Swiss decision point. Ooh, is it running up a bunch now? Not really. So CAD Swiss, 7,300, 73, kind of 20, 25, 30, right in that general area. So just as we talked about, long-term charts don't break as much. They hold much more often. So I'm watching to see what this CAD Swiss is going to do and if we're going to get, a semi-interesting good run here or not, right? So that's going to be heavy on the watch list for the week ahead. What are we doing at 7,300? You can see it's sitting at about 7,350, so a little bit of movement, a little bit of bouncing around here, but 7,300 is pretty heavily on my radar for CAD Swiss. We have some great targets up above, so I'm naturally leaning to the fact that I think it could hold this level and give us a run into these upper targets. But we're going to need other levels of confirmation to get there before that's a trade. And so that will be something that in the premium members group we'll talk about, and we'll and the trade will come out if we get that right confirmation. We're able to take a trade there. So CAD Swiss is going to be interesting to watch this week. We talked a little bit about Swiss yen and kind of that that decision point that it's at. I mean, I hate to be so CAD heavy because if you're wrong on one, you're wrong on a bunch. But I think 8,600 is a super important level on New Zealand CAD as well. So this is going to be the area to watch for me this week, or excuse me, next week. Is big test, and we're back kind of testing that area again. So we've got this kind of triple bottom here. We had a little short-term double bottom there. We've got great targets up above. So again, with those good targets, I'm going to be looking for, we'll look and see if this thing can, can hold and make a run up there. Tank isn't in here with me. Where is Tank? I don't know. My trading buddy's kind of leaving me hanging here. Yeah, he's usually right on. Sometimes he'll be sleeping on my keyboard, my computer, and then it gets me into whatever trade he, his tail waggles on. But you can see we have two different directions here, right? I want to see CAD Swiss go up, and I want to see New Zealand CAD go up. And one depends on CAD weakness, and one depends on CAD strength. So these two will kind of give us opportunities here, right? If we see that CAD weakness, New Zealand CAD's our trade. If we see some CAD strength, CAD Swiss is our trade. So so that's kind of why I'm watching those two and why I like those two setups so much. And then dollar CAD, honestly, I've got good targets above and good targets below on dollar CAD. So I don't really know where I definitely want to trade this for the short term, but with that CAD strength, great targets down here below. Got a lot of CAD news. There's the, I don't know, can anybody update me? I haven't read about it since yesterday, but has anything come up with NAFTA or any of these trade agreements? I know that that's one that's been heavily under discussion and caused a lot of volatility in the Canadian dollar pairs. So trade wars, trade agreements, all that stuff, that's definitely causing some unexpected movement. Be careful with euro pairs right now, and just do yourself a favor and don't trade pound pairs. Just stay away from pound pairs. They're horrible because every 2 weeks or so, without warning, we get some sort of news out of Brexit or something, and the pound just becomes untradeable. Since Brexit was announced about 2 years ago, I just have not enjoyed trading the pound. And I love trading the pound. I love the pound CAD. I love the pound Swiss, these are pound yen has been the currency pair that's given me two 1,000 pip trades. I mean, I love trading the pound, but don't trade it. I mean, just mark my words, wipe the pound off your charts for at least another year and forget that it exists, because it's not going to do you very, very good. So just kind of stay away from that. Stay away from that. Okay, Joe, 4-hour and below charts find more difficult trading smaller time frames. Joe, smaller time frames on their own are pretty unruly, unless two things. Number one, you're using a smaller time frame for execution, but you've got the bigger picture already in mind from the larger time frames, or you're using my Forex scanner. Then smaller time frames are very, very predictable and very, very good. For example, the dollar CAD yesterday on a 15-minute chart. Now, we always kind of look at the big picture. On a 15-minute chart, we got into it on this breakout, and for no reason at all, it just shot down, because the scanner is the closest thing to a crystal ball you can get. It really is the best trading tool that I have ever seen, ever. So when using the scanner, because it looks at a lot of different things, it's great for shorter term charts, but you're right, otherwise trading shorter term charts, you've got to have a good scalping strategy, and you've got to have something that is real high probability that works really well. And so, yeah, without that, those lower time frames can just be, a minefield, so to speak. Nothing's as good as the 15-minute setups. 15-minute setups are just the money, but 5-minute setups are very good. 30-minute setups are really good. And it's not to say that a 5-minute setup's not as good as a 15-minute setup. It's just a much shorter term chart, and you got to be a little more precise with your entries. So the 5-minute scanner setups are good. It's just you've got to be really, really on those entries, because you might only have 10 or 15 pips of potential profit to go after. And so if you get a bad entry, it's a little bit tricky to kind of scale in on a 5-minute chart. But a 15-minute chart, most of the time we can pull, 40 or 50 pips out of those, whereas a 5-minute may only give us 15 or 20 on the high end. So it's a little trickier. It's not that it's worse, it's just a little trickier because you really have to be patient and have really tight, good entries. But they're all good. They're all good. Anything that the scanner produces is just fantasticness. So they're all very good. Okay, so I'm watching some CAD pairs this week. We'll see where they go. I don't know that I'm super duper excited at this current moment about anything outside of some CAD pairs, to be honest. I'm curious about some New Zealand pairs. I know we've got New Zealand Swiss that's kind of just, continuing down, down, and down. I'm kind of interested in this New Zealand Swiss. I'm curious to see, if the New Zealand is just going to fall off the planet, or if it's going to finally, start showing us some strength. And it's been pretty weak, so it might just continue to drop. New Zealand Swiss has big levels over here, all the way down, another 500 pips, and it might be headed for that. If we continue to see Swiss strength, then we could have a great trade on New Zealand Swiss to the downside. I don't know exactly what that would look like, because this thing has just been going down nonstop, but maybe some pullbacks and we could see some nice things happen on New Zealand Swiss. But one of the reasons I like this is we've got, remember these kinds of pivots, when we have 1, 2, 3, we just missed that one right there, which is great. So we have 3 consecutive daily missed pivots on this New Zealand Swiss, a weekly pivot, a monthly pivot, and, more levels back up through here. That makes this a hot zone. We want to target kind of that 6450, 6500 area, and here we are down at 63, just below 6350. So there's 100 to 150 pips worth of good activity coming up here. So it's just target related. We don't have much in the way of our scanner specific bar count situation happening. But there's some really good targets up there, and I think, excuse me, apologies for a yawn. It's only 6:25 in the morning after an hour and change of talking here, so sorry. But anyway, I think New Zealand Swiss is going to be a good one. We see that Swiss franc start to roll over a little bit. We've seen a lot of Swiss strength. This is going to be a great one. But right now we're seeing Swiss strength, New Zealand weakness, not one we want to trade bullish. But when that starts to roll over and give us a different picture, then New Zealand Swiss is going to be high on the list. You know, and it could be another week, could be 2 weeks, but this is a good one. Okay, guys. I am tired of talking, to be honest. I think my voice is going to fall out. You guys have had some great questions, great comments, great input. Any final thoughts before we go? These are, you know, a couple of pairs I'm going to be watching, a couple of New Zealand pairs, a couple of CAD pairs, and there will be other ones on the list. There will be other ones on the list as the week goes on. But for now, I'm kind of steering clear there. Hey, Elvin, nice to see you, man. Here is my website. If you have any questions, stop by. I just put it in the chat. You can get right now you can get a 14-day free trial to the trade group. And I think that would be good. So give that a shot. We've got some monthly and annual memberships that I ran a special on annual memberships about a month ago that came with a lot of really good stuff, some one-on-one sessions and access to the scanner and so on. Right now, that is not a special, but we do have the annual membership that will save you a pretty good amount of money on the monthly fee. So anyways, come over, check that out. Get this Forex scanner because it's what you need if you are trading Forex. You just have to have it. So there's the scanner right there. There's the website. Questions, comments you guys have, I'm all ears, and I would love to hear anything you guys have. So nice to see you all. Glad to have you with us, Lester, Elvin, and everyone else, Joe and Craig and Chris and just everybody. There's so many in here. So great to see you guys. Thanks for being on with us. James, good to see you. We'll be back soon. We'll have a live webinar Monday morning. That's members only stuff. But that'll be exciting and fun, and we'll see what kind of things have happened, you know, how the markets ended the week and where we can take it for the week ahead. So we've had some great trades this week. We'll have some great trades again next week. This is what we do. So we'll find some good things. Thanks for being on, guys. Nice to see you, Dwayne. Yeah, trading, yeah, Pacific time and Forex trading is kind of a bummer sometimes. I find myself saying, I don't want to get up this morning, but somehow it always works out. So it's never too bad. But I always look forward to getting to the charts and seeing what the markets are up to. So good stuff. Yeah, move. Good to see you, Corey. A little move to London might do the trick. Although, you know, last time I was in Europe for months and months, I swear the euro markets didn't move at all. Just my luck. So I kind of like getting done with trading early in the day, early in the morning even. Kind of gives me the rest of the day to handle all the rest of stuff. Plus, I like putting trades on in quiet times. That's a great time to trade. Okay, guys. Thanks, everybody. Nice to see you all. Have a wonderful Friday, a wonderful weekend, and just enjoy yourselves. Go do some fun stuff. We'll catch you guys back here on Monday. Check out those links I sent over. If you have any questions, let me know. Take care, everybody. We'll see you all very soon.